My name is Katerina Satori. I am a mentor, teacher, and entrepreneur. And I have spent a lot of years in survival energy. I was born into survival in Soviet Russia, in huge instability. And really, it was my personal dream to transcend survival, to transcend the environment that I was born in, and to actually create something different. So, what I'm observing, loves, these survival fears, they have these two kind of layers. The first is your personal survival fear, and the second one is your ancestral survival fear, right? So I'm going to share with you, hi, love, so good to see you. I'm going to share with you the number one process that I lean into. Because let's be honest, if you are going to lean into your courage, go after your bigger and bolder dream, the survival fear will come up. I just simply expect it. I'm like, oh, here it is. It's just coming up again. The same story, the same voice of limitation, right? So, so the survival fears come up, and it takes a real courage to look it into the eye and to dissolve it, right? And to untangle that knot that feels like an abundance block, money block, whatever fancy name that we can give it. The kind of like the core of it is just discomfort with tomorrow, always unknown. So what I have found, the fastest way to dissolve any survival fear is actually melt it with an ocean of your presence. So I'm going to unpack it a little bit, right? That may sound so simple for some of you. Some of you will be like, what the heck was that, Katerina? But think about this way. Survival fear comes, and immediately there's a tendency to leave the body and to go into the mind and start, and the mind begins to do its job. It's trying to protect you. It's trying to come up with a solution. It begins to worry, or it begins to panic. The only way to get out of that closed circuit between worry and panic is to enter back into your body and step into this quantum reality that calls presence. One of the gazillion reasons I love the work of Joe Dispenza, and if you know his work, then you know how powerful it is he constantly guides people to discover the power of entering your present moment fully and seeing that as a quantum field of possibility. Every step on every big quantum leap that I would take on my leadership path and entrepreneurship path, I would face the dragons of survival, because I would take risks. I would invest everything I had to my name into developing a particular skill, or developing a particular level of mastery, right? I never had any benefactors or anybody who was like, yeah, we're just going to invest everything in you. A lot of times it was just me and a credit cards that I just go and invest all I have into this next step. But the gift of that is that I dissolve the fear of money. I dissolve the fear of losing money, dissolve the fear of not having enough money, right? So money became a tool, not my master, just like time. Two biggest obstacles that a lot of people buy into is these two things, time and money. Right? If you look back at some of the reasons that you hold yourself back by acting on your biggest dream, is one of those two things. It's either not the right time, or I don't have enough money. I know I face those too, and continue to face, looking deeper into that. So facing a survival fear can be an exquisite practice of presence. This presence process always humbles me. No matter how much I feel I've deepened that practice, The mind is such a slippery thing. It loves to run into the future and to create this imaginary, threatening scenarios, right? So I often just bring myself to the present moment and I switch on my gratitude. Like, so grateful for the warm house, for the beautiful things in my life, for the fresh celery juice, right? So always, no matter how corny this may sound, gratitude really supports you when you feel the turbulence and anxiety of, I'm afraid that tomorrow I will not have enough. And this is why it's so powerful to turn off all the noise machine that's called news and mainstream media. I know the people who join my live streams, you don't even have a TV. A lot of you don't even have a TV, right? But being very, very selective of the input that comes in and just reminding yourself. I remember, when I came to this country, literally put everything on the line, had $3 to my name. Thank goodness I had a place to sleep for 2 weeks and I had a job, as a housekeeper. But I remember that experience taught me that life has never let me down. Spirit has never abandoned me. I actively I actively was searching guidance of spirit, like praying and invoking support of my angels, and then listening. And the times where I would allow the survival fear to overcome me and get frozen in that fear is because I would be spinning in my mind and not listening the guidance that was available in the moment. So what if the gift of this huge unknown in the collective, what if the gift is to help us discover the power of our own presence? When we sit and we actually find the moment and we still ourselves and we begin to examine, where is this fear coming from, right? And how long will it run our lives? So, hi, darlings. It's very, very powerful. And if you study the work of Richard Rudd, I believe it's a Gene Key 52. I love that one, just to read it as a chapter, which is the shadow of stress, the gift of stillness, the gift of restraint, and the city of stillness. And I find, like the moment I start stressing about anything, I just lost my connection to the present moment. And the beautiful thing is just to notice it, and where to return, right? So I hold the vision for our society and for our humanity to see the gift of 2020 is to realize that the power is always here, because the present moment is the quantum field that we enter with curiosity, with openness, and with deep listening. And when it comes to your ancestral survival fear, right, that's also a deep and profound work, because it could be a lot of unconscious loyalty to never make more than your father made or your mother made, right? To never surpass your parents in your ability to thrive. So that's also a great opportunity to sit and to examine those beliefs and to look deep into them. And in that process, I definitely encourage to seek support, like a qualified support. There's many, many incredible healers that work specifically with ancestral line and your blood lineage. And this is really, really powerful to untangle that. So I find that survival fears show up at every level. The deepest alchemy, I remember, I think it was a couple of years ago, when I was making myself more and more available on this path of leadership. And I remember one day I had this deep sense of unease arising in my body. It always, for me, starts with a funk, like a body funk, some kind of a confusion. I'm like, oh, the shadow process about to begin, right? Where you feel low, something is off within you. I'm like, oh, the shadow process is coming towards me. And I remember sitting on my patio under the sun and just feeling this unexplained waves of fear of being a woman in leadership. Um, the old fear is how long am I going to carry this on my own shoulders, right? It's so tiring to do this alone. And instead of avoiding it and not looking at that, I leaned into that and I'm like, let me just really feel this. Let me just feel this. What if this is the pain of my ancestors, pain of all the women in my lineage? And when you feel it, you heal it. When you feel it, you heal it, right? So you feel it first, and then you remind yourself what is true for you at this moment. A lot of times I have a dialogue with myself. I feel the pain of my ancestors. I honor what they have survived. I feel it deeply, and I am writing a new story. I am the first pioneer in my lineage who is writing a new story. And I'm going to anchor myself in that truth. And I'm going to make a new choice based on that. So I have found it's an incredible practice of presence. Every time survival fear comes up and the mind begins to worry or begins to loop in these perceived threatening scenarios, if you're willing to slow yourself down and to create this intimate experience with yourself, and you begin to examine one fear at a time, journal about it. One of the things I'm so passionate about entrepreneurship is because when I decided to go all in, bet all the chips on myself, I had to face every scary scenario. I remember looking into this fear of becoming a bag lady on the street. Trust me, I had to look into that fear. It's not an original fear at all. But if we don't find the courage to look into that and to say, wow, look at this fear that is hiding in my psyche, let me just welcome it, right? Or the fear, becoming bankrupt, or the fear of, I'm going to go all in and this is all going to fall apart and I'm not going to succeed. It's so liberating writing those down. The fear that is hiding in my psyche is ... And every time you look at that fear, it dissolves as an illusion. You'd be like, oh my goodness, it was just something that needed to be acknowledged. One of the powerful things about both fear and self-doubt, if you name those, they lose their emotional charge. One of the reasons why we have such emotionally, how would I call it? Emotionally suppressed society is because our culture conditions us. We gotta be stoic. We gotta show the happy face. We gotta never talk about our fears. So they go deeper and deeper and deeper into subconscious, right? And the courageous act is actually name them and find a confidant or a trusted friend that you can say, you know what? Would you be open if I just take next 10 minutes and just name 5 of my deepest fears? And would you be willing to hold space for that naming? What you will be surprised to discover that the emotional intensity of those fears will lessen. That's why mentorship work is so powerful. It's a great honor when my client finds such a deep level of trust in our work, where they reveal to me the deepest fears and they feel emotional relief. Like, that's okay. That fear exists. It has a right to exist. And now let's move through it together, because on the other side of that fear is your power. Yes, I love you, darling. So this is just a simple invitation. After I finish this live stream, I'm going to go and sit and listen to binaural beats and be with myself for, 30 minutes or so. I have found my groove with meditation. So I got to tell you, it's like the most inconsistent personal practice in my life is meditation. It was not easy. It's still not easy. But every time I sit down and do it or be with myself by entering quantum reality and dissolving the separate self into the ocean of consciousness, I come back and I say, I'm falling in love with this practice. I'm falling in love with the sense of peace that comes out of this. So I offer this to you, beloved souls. Yes, the collective is uncertain, but you know what has always been uncertain? One of the reasons I love Facebook memories is because I see my Facebook lives coming. I see my Facebook lives come around, and I'm like, in 2017, I was talking about uncertainty of the world and how to deal with it. 2018, I was talking about the void and the power of death and rebirth. 2019, it's like the same theme every year. We are coming to terms with that life is inherently uncertain. And we can either become afraid of that uncertainty, or we can see the magic in that, the magic of uncertainty. And that we don't need to know what's going to happen tomorrow. We can find ourselves right here, right now. The always support is available, encouragement is available, a trusted friend is available, right? Always. Right here, right now. And I'm going to just end on this, my loves, with one of my favorite kind of declarations that I lean into since I was 16 years old. And I would say to myself, life has carried me this far. It will continue to carry me forward. I am always supported, and so are you. Life has carried you so far. It will continue to carry you. And every survival fear you accept, bring towards your heart and heal and allow yourself to feel, you turn that energy into your soul power. I love you. Thank you for joining me so much. I love you.